Good afternoon, Paul, and welcome to Tucson. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I love it here, Sam. This is great. How long have you been the head of transportation here for the city?
Almost 3 years.
That's great. But you've worked here for?
Just about 13 years.
So we're here at the Hotel Congress where John Dillinger evidently got caught. Amazing.
It is exciting.
But we were coming here, we were driving right over your streetcar tracks. So tell me about your streetcar system.
Be happy to tell you about our streetcar, Paul. It's been in operation just over 10 years. In fact, last summer we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. The city of Tucson received one of the largest Tiger grants in the entire country for our streetcar.
Wow.
It's been wildly successful, not only from a transit rider perspective, but also economic development here in downtown Tucson.
What kind of investment has that brought to this area? I mean, the whole area, to me, it reminds me of like, a downtown Memphis or, all the shops and all. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool. In fact, we've seen nearly $4 billion in public and private investment in our downtown, including several new buildings, residential, commercial. It's really been exciting for Tucson.
During the pandemic, a lot of transit agencies around the country went fare free. You guys did, but you've never gone back.
Paul, we did go fare free in 2020 as a result of the pandemic, but I will tell you that our mayor and council's commitment to operating fare free transit in Tucson has remained steady. And so we continue to operate fare free, even though many of those federal funds that we were using to cover the fares have run out. The mayor and council have committed to that. And what we've seen is really, it's driven our ridership up.
And tell me about your ridership, pre-pandemic to now, and is everything free?
So yes, everything is free right now. In fact, that's our fixed route Sun Tran, our paratransit Sun Van, and our streetcar Sun Link. What we've seen is that our ridership has restored to pre-pandemic. In fact, our streetcar ridership has nearly doubled what it was pre-pandemic.
Wow.
So we've seen a major growth in our streetcar ridership. But the other thing I'll tell you, Paul, is that it's not really free transit because there is an investment that the general fund is making in our transit system. We're primarily funded with the general fund. There is no dedicated funding source for Tucson's mass transit system. So again, this is a commitment made by mayor and council.
And for your bus service, what are you all doing with fueling?
So for years, we've operated diesel buses, but we're getting really close to eliminating all of our diesel buses. And that's really a commitment that this mayor and council has made to alternative fuels. Many years ago, we began investing in CNG. So we continue to expand our CNG fleet while also diversifying and including some battery electric buses as well. So we're really excited within a year's time, we will have no more diesel buses operating on our system.
So you all have an interesting model here. You contract out a lot of your services, right?
That's correct, Paul. So the way that it works is the city owns the entire transit system. All the assets are owned by the city of Tucson, but we utilize a management contractor in which we hire a transit management professional company. In this case, it's RATP Dev, and they operate the system on our behalf. That includes fixed route, paratransit, and streetcar. But again, everything is owned by the city. We provide all the funds, the budgeting. They really just provide those management services. And that's worked out really well for us for several years now.
And I guess one of the main reasons we're filming here is this is your 50th anniversary as a transit system.
It sure is, Paul. We took over the public transit system in 1975, made it truly public for the community of Tucson, and we're really excited to be celebrating 50 years.
That's great. Well, thanks for welcoming us here, my friend.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Paul.
So, Rhett, tell me about your BRT that you've got planned here for Tucson.
Paul, thank you. Yes, it's very exciting. We've been working on a bus rapid transit model for the past almost 2 years. Our leadership was very excited about taking next steps to come off the success of the Sunlink streetcar. And so we've been working on this plan for a while now. It's a 5-mile corridor between Ronstadt Transit Center and downtown Tucson, which is in downtown Tucson, to the Tucson Mall, which is on the north side. We're right here. It's across the street.
2 questions. Ronstadt, is that Linda Ronstadt? Is that named after her?
Yes, it was named after Linda Ronstadt's family. They had a hardware store in downtown Tucson. They were heavily involved, basically pillars of the community. And so, yeah, that's a great question.
Cool. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Now, you said that your leaders were excited about the streetcar. What got them excited about that?
Well, the streetcar was completed about a little over 10 years ago, wildly successful. We've seen over $3.5 billion worth of investment.
Billion.
Billion with a B.
So that's real transit-oriented development, huh?
That's real transit-oriented development. Again, wildly successful. Our ridership breaks records every year. It's helped us create more housing, more density along the route. And so that's where we kind of got into BRT and said, hey, how can we continue this journey of success? And so we looked at this entire route. This is the north segment of the route.
Okay.
And so it made a lot of sense. We feel like we've got almost like its own downtown with the Tucson Mall. It's huge.
It's a big mall, yeah.
It's a huge mall, right? It's its own ecosystem. We feel that even though it's still viable, it could be more successful, and we're hoping that this investment in the future will help raise all boats.
And if all the lights are green and you get the funding you need, how long before you might get things shoveled in the ground? And now you don't have to actually do rail because it's bus rapid transit, but are you going to do separated, grade separated kind of stuff where they have their own lanes, or are they going to ride with everybody else? Or
Yes, it's going to be they'll have one lane on each side of Stone Avenue.
Okay.
We looked at two different roads. One was Oracle, which is actually a state highway, and the other is Stone. So we settled on Stone. We got community feedback. The community loved the idea of Stone. I think it was something like 62% favored this route on Stone. And so it will have its own lane going each way. Again, 10-minute headways. We think it'll be exciting. Yes.
Yeah. Russell, what an amazing place you got here, the White Stallion Ranch. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm sitting here because of a blizzard in Denver in the late spring of '65. Our parents just had gotten so sick of the bad weather, they just searched for something to do, and at the end of that search, my mother said, if I can look at those mountains every morning when I wake up, I'll let you throw our lives away. And so I got to grow up here. I always felt like I was the luckiest guy around.
Yeah, that's something. And what do you do here? What's the...
So we're...
Is this like a classic dude ranch or
it
whatever
is.
you call it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, some people wonder, but dude and guest ranch, pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
And we're very much a dude ranch. We sort of lean a little bit toward a little bit more luxury. We have a full spa, and we have hot tub and tennis court and fitness room and lots of activities and full bar. And so there's lots to do aside from riding horses, but that's still the central part of any dude ranch.
And I mean, this is the wild, wild west, right? But you've tamed it a little bit?
Well, they can go out and beat themselves up all day long, and then they can go home and have a nice beer and good food and sleep in a really good bed.
Yeah. So tell us about the Tucson area just generally, and this type of lifestyle. I mean, you didn't have to drive that far from downtown, tall buildings and all that to be out here, and wonderful nature.
Right. Well, I mean, if we look this way, this is the ranch, and we adjoin the national park, which is we have 2 miles of common fence, longest in the country.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So we have about 4.5 square miles, and here's the cattle. It's unchanged. It could be 1880 in terms of how that looks.
I'm actually watching that show 1883 now, and this kind of reminds me of it. Do you let people come out here and learn to rope steer, or do you do that or no?
Well, so we have a rodeo for them to watch every
cool.
week,
Okay.
and then we'll teach them to rope on the ground. But combining horse riding fast with a rope is sometimes takes a little more time.
I understand. And all those cows look like they've got big horns.
So yeah, we raise Corrientes and Spanish origin cattle, rodeo cattle. Yeah, they grow big horns.
Yep. This wasn't like on the Oregon Trail, was it?
No, it was on the Butterfield route.
Okay.
So the Butterfield stage went right through the ranch, and most of Silver Bell Road follows the original Butterfield stage route.
Wow, that's something. And are you going to pass this down? Do you have kids you want to pass this down to?
Well, I have two. I have 2 older sons, and they've both worked here and left. Dude ranching is hard, And I'm all over again. So I have a 6-year-old daughter. So we're hoping she's
there
the one.
There you go. That's great, man. I remember around 8 or 9 years ago when I first arrived at the MTA in Baltimore as CEO of the transit system there, that I was informed that we were under a lawsuit against us, the MTA, the Maryland Transit Administration, from two groups, the Maryland Disability Law Center and AARP, because they said that our paratransit system was violating the law. And my first question was, after what are we doing that's violating it, was why is AARP using my dues to sue me? But that's another matter. But so I got into it and figured out what was going on. It was mostly us, the authorities' fault. We had not invested as we should have in the infrastructure for the paratransit system. See, we had contracted out paratransit like most transit agencies do across America, but we had not, we needed to upgrade our servers, and our telephone system was old and antiquated and didn't have an IVR, a correct IVR for people to use to be on hold. And so that's what needed to be addressed. And then I got into the paratransit system a little bit more as really my first project, because that's where I had spent a lot of my career and am passionate about helping people with disabilities. And I realized there was a lot of issues. I felt like we, as the transit agency, and I'd been in the business for, at that time, around 25 years, I felt like we were micromanaging our contractors too much, and we were trying to get outcomes by directing the inputs instead of by managing our contractors by the outputs. And so I focused on trying to make sure that we became partners with our paratransit contractors. We had three of them, three of the big nationals, and I wanted to utilize the resources they brought. I mean, they had some of the best experts in the country, and we could utilize their services. We needed to improve our service to people with disabilities. And so we did. I had multiple meetings with them. We set out what our shared goals were, what our objectives were, and then I directed our management team to allow the contractors to do their job and to manage them by the outcomes that we would require, which are the KPIs, and not by the inputs, not telling them how to do it, just telling them what we wanted done and holding them accountable by regular meetings where they would report on their iterative progress. And you know what the result of that was? When I left the agency, I'm proud to say and humbled that we had the highest performing major paratransit system in the nation. We were at 96.5% on-time performance with 8,000 trips a day, and our preventable accident rate was 1 preventable accident per 100,000 miles. So the performance was dramatic, and it was largely due to a shift in the dynamic of the relationship between the agency and the contractor. Mikel Oglesby, thank you so much for having us here in Tucson, my friend.
My man.
So, tell us about your transit system.
Well, you know, we have, it says stop requested, right?
That's right.
So,
Next 4 stops.
so it does work.
Yes.
We have Sun Tran, which is our fixed route. We have Sun Van, which is our paratransit. And then we have the streetcar serving the community of Tucson.
That's great. And you're celebrating your 50th anniversary as a transit system.
We're celebrating our 50th year as a transit system, but more importantly, we celebrated 10 years of this streetcar. Just finished it up in December, so we're doing a lot of celebrating.
Amazing. And we were just talking yesterday about the economic investment that this streetcar has brought. Almost $4 billion of investment on the streetcar line?
Absolutely, and what it's done is along that 3.9 miles, it is packed with opportunity and something for the people to do.
And what do you have planned for the future?
Well, we've got a lot planned for the future. When it comes to, in general, we're looking at our alternate fuel technology. We're looking at bus rapid transit. We're looking at a new app that people can use. I mean, we're looking at anything that the people can use to advance public transportation.
So, Mikel, one of the great things about your system is ridership. Tell me about how you're doing.
So our ridership is doing better than pre-pandemic.
Amazing.
A lot of people are surprised. They're saying, how do you do it? You are already providing free fare, and then it keeps going up. And I tell them a majority of it is scheduling, marketing, and education, and it works. We go out to the community, we're accessible, and we're transparent. People are comfortable, and they support us.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and we're in the operations and control center here, Paul, at Sunlink Streetcar. And what we do here with our supervisors is our supervisors manage all the trains via a trapeze software system. And this is real-time monitoring of all the streetcars, making sure that they're on time, they're evenly spaced. They make sure that if there's any blockages along the alignment, that they notify, communicate, slow the streetcars down and keep them evenly spaced.
That's great. And then you can see kind of all your hubs and everything there.
Exactly. What we have here is we have all the cameras for the right-of-way. We monitor all the station stops. And again, make sure that we see if there's any blockages, if there's any impediments. We also are able to monitor demand, passenger demand, and make sure that if we need to, we can send a supervisor out there to make sure that customer service is taken care of accordingly, and make sure if there's any issues that we address those and communicate those to all the operators.
That's great.
Again, Paul, welcome to our operations and maintenance facility. It's a 19,000 square foot facility. It's a LEED Silver facility, and that's leadership in energy and environmental design.
That's great.
We're very proud of that. This is where, this is the heart of our operation here, if you will, where we have 3 bays in which we maintain the streetcars. We have a pit over to our left, and we have 2 other maintenance bays here to be able to do all our maintenance.
And how many employees do you have here?
We have 47 employees, 21 streetcar operators, 11 maintenance facility, and the rest are management and administration. And Paul, this is our spare truck sets. What we utilize these for is when we're doing heavy maintenance on the streetcars, we have the ability to take spare trucks and put them on the streetcars. Basically what we do is we put them into the pit,
Okay.
we put a streetcar into the pit, we unplug the streetcar's operational cables here, and what we'll do is tow the streetcar out and pull it in the bay and lift them up with our jacks.
Great. Let's go down here and check this out. All right. So what do we got down here,
So
John?
Paul, we're in the pit, if you will. It's not, it's a maintenance pit. What we do is, as you can see, it's very safe, very well lit.
Yes.
And what we do is all of our maintenance personnel are able to get underneath the streetcar. As you can see, again, it's well lit. They're able to do all the mechanics underneath the streetcar and just do their preventive maintenance and heavy maintenance here.
That's great. And how often do they come in for maintenance?
They come in daily.
Wow.
They come in daily.
Is
we
that
bring
right?
the maintenance vehicles in here daily.
That's amazing. All right, Gene, this is an amazing museum. Thanks for the tour. Tell us about what you all do in your organization.
Well, thanks, Paul, for the compliment. We appreciate it. Old Pueblo Trolley was founded in 1983 to bring historic streetcars back to Tucson. And it took us 10 years, but after that, for 17 years, we actually operated real streetcars on tracks with overhead line on a mile of track in the downtown area. And then the city decided to do the modern streetcar, and the rest is history. We ended up with a big museum.
So what's in here, Gene? What do you have?
Well, this is our static display museum. We have exhibits, photo histories, that kind of thing. But in terms of the vehicle collection, it's a collection of buses used in Arizona cities. They all have an Arizona connection. And it's streetcars we used for the 17 and a half years we operated. And it's other streetcars we want to restore to represent Arizona cities.
And like this one, this is your oldest one, right? Tell us about this.
This is 1886. It's a horse-drawn streetcar that we used in San Antonio, Texas. And it came up for sale on the internet a couple of years ago, and we bought it, and it's amazingly complete for its age. You look inside, you see all the bench seats, everything is almost, at least one of everything is still there.
All right, so we're in one of your streetcars that you guys actually operated?
Yes, we started operations in 1993. For 17 years, we ran streetcars, as I think I already said. And this is one of the cars we ran. It was our workhorse. We ran it every weekend with volunteers. Everybody was volunteers, the mechanics, the conductors, the motormen, the dispatchers, everybody was volunteers. And we operated on City Street a mile. And this car was from Japan. We actually imported it in 1992, had it shipped across the ocean. And so we mostly left it the way it was in Japan with the Japanese writing.
Yeah, I see Japanese,
Yeah, so anyway, it was a very reliable streetcar. And now that we're in the building, well, we kind of ran it into the ground after 17 years. Every weekend, you don't have much time to work on it. So since we got here, we repainted it, and we're refurbishing the interior. And so it's going to be, well, here's our dream, okay?
All right.
Our dream is to put track in the building and a little bit of track at least out on 4th Avenue. And so when we do that, this car will go back into service for people to ride.
Gene, I love this old Greyhound bus. Tell me about that and what's going on with Greyhound now?
Well, Greyhound's kind of a shadow of its former self. Who knows exactly what's going to happen to it. But for now, they're still in business. We still have Greyhound service through Tucson, transcontinental route. But the bus, yes, the bus. So this is the iconic Greyhound bus of the 1950s era with the deck and a half. And they called it the Super Scenic Cruiser. And it was built by General Motors. They only made 1,001 of these buses, all for Greyhound. If you wanted to ride one when it was new, you had to ride Greyhound. Anyway, it was the peak of travel for Greyhound in the 50s era. And we found this bus. It had been sitting in a storage yard for about 20 years here in town. And we're like, it's just been converted to a motorhome like everything else. Well, we had this visitor from Utah, and one day we go over there, because he said, we're just looking for something for him to do. And when the people let us look at the bus, we looked inside. No, it's got all the seats. No, it's got the bathroom. Wow, this is cool. So our friend from Utah went back to the hotel that night. He told his wife. Next morning, they came in and they said, we're going to buy the bus for you.
Wow.
So all we've done so far is repaint it to Greyhound colors.
Gene, this is a streetcar museum, but you do have a lot of buses here, don't you?
Well, the name of the organization is Old Pueblo Trolley because that's what we started with. But from the beginning, we wanted it to be a broader transportation museum, and specifically, I didn't want to interpret the streetcars alone. I wanted to interpret it in the public transit format. So that's why the buses. They're all the buses we have represent Arizona cities. We have 27 buses in our collection, in our full-time permanent collection. And but anyway, so you see a lot of them have to be stored outside. We don't have enough room in the building. But we pay as much attention to the buses as we do the streetcars.
Mark, I'm very impressed you've done so many of these models. These are amazing models of the buses that are in here. Tell us about that.
Well, this one here is representing the color that it's going to be when they restore this Aero coach. And this is an Aero coach here, and this is a Crown coach that they made in California.
And how long does it take you to do one of these models?
Well, for one bus like this, it'll be about a month.
And people from all over the country order these from you?
Right now, yes, I'm making scenic cruises for various people right now.
It's just beautiful. Gene, thank you for the wonderful work you do in preserving public transportation nostalgia, And this is your museum right here.
Right.
Tell us where it's located, when you're open, and how can people support you?
Well, we're in Tucson, Arizona, and we're at 350 East 36th Street. And you can come, we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday from 10 to 3 all year round. So come and visit us. And if you want to help us do some restoration, support the organization, we have a P.O. Box, 1373, 85702. And that's where you could send a check. We're not into... We're pretty bad about getting into the electronic age, so you got to send us.
You got to send it to the OPO, but you know what? How appropriate for an old trolley museum. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Yeah.
Hi, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're at our Tran North Yard. This yard has been operational since about 2011. We house 185 buses here, 10 of them which are battery electric. We have 126 CNG vehicles, but they're at our south yard. However, we are building a CNG plant in this corner of the yard over here. We're going to bring all those CNGs up here, and we're going to be a combination of only CNG and electric. Right now, we've got some diesels, we've got some diesel hybrids, and we've got electric and CNG. So we've got a pretty big mix right now, but we're going to consolidate that all down to CNG and electric. Okay, so Paul, this is our charging infrastructure. These are Siemens chargers. They're at 150 watts. They charge a bus in less than 2 hours.
And what's your range you're getting on a charge now?
The range is it's 10 to 12 hours or 120 to 150 miles, which is good. That's acceptable. Our next generation of electric buses should be able to get us through the entire day at like 220 miles or 18 hours.
And how will you do that? Adding more batteries?
We add another battery pack, yes.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yes.
And have you found that these buses are extra heavy because of all those batteries? You have to do anything to the...
They are heavier,
Yeah.
but they're not a lot heavier. So Gillig did not compromise their basic body structure to accommodate the batteries, which is a good thing. Okay, these are two of our cutaway vehicles. The one in the back is paratransit. The one in the front is microtransit. The microtransit helps get folks out of the neighborhoods and into the feeder routes.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Jeff, this shop is beautiful, man. 14 years old. It looks like it's only, 5 or 10.
Yep, folks take pride in their work. It was built in 2011. We're a full service shop. We do
Okay.
everything here.
Really?
Collision work, engine rebuilds, all major component rebuilds. We do preventive maintenance. They come in once every 6,000 miles. We've got an A service, a B service, a C service, a D service, and they get more involved as you go up. And,
Yeah.
and so they go through a very intense preventive maintenance program, and then we do all the defects. Nothing leaves the yard with a defect.
And how many mechanics do you have working here?
Yeah, so there's 40 mechanics working here, and
That's
we run 3 shifts, so we're 24/7.
Oh, that's good.
So there's constantly people working in the shop.
Man, that's great. I really think that's great when shops do the 3 shifts, because most of the work gets done when?
At night when the vehicles are here.
Of course.
Yep.
So many places I've been only do 2 shifts, and I'm like, dude, come on.
So Paul, these vents here are for CNG. So if a CNG alarm goes off, the fans in the ceiling pull the air in through the vents, and then the fans pull the air up and out of the building.
So this is pulling in fresh air, and then the fans are pulling out the contaminated air
That's right.
if you have a leak.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Paul, we have a full service body shop. We do all our own body work, all collision work. You're standing in our paint booth. It's a state-of-the-art paint booth. It's one of the biggest in Arizona. It's 75 foot long, it's 25 foot high. There's 4 fuel tanks here, 20,000 gallons each. But it is, by the end of this year, it's going to be our CNG plant. So 2 of these big fuel tanks is going to be removed, and we're going to bring in CNG compressors.
Mikel, what a great time we've had with you here.
I appreciate you coming. This has been great.
This facility is fantastic. I was telling your staff after they gave me a tour of it, I've probably visited 90, 95, almost 100 bus garages around the world. And I'm going to tell you, this is top 10, baby. It's got the cleanliness, it's got the organization, it's got the right structure. It's wonderful.
No, I appreciate that. And we work hard to get there. And I'm just honored that you came to be able to showcase our little facility, even though it's 900 people. And we're really proud, and we're going to continue to thrive in public transportation and bring the people what they want.
Absolutely. Let's get that BRT going.
You got it.
All right, man.
Deal.
See you. Davita, we've been here 3 times now to the Congress Hotel. I love this part of town. Tell me about where we're at here.
So this is the Hotel Congress. Behind us is the Cup Cafe, great little coffee shop. The Hotel Congress has been here over 100 years. It's the place where they caught the John Dillinger gang because of a fire here at the Hotel Congress. The hotel manager told us that one of the gang, Dillinger gang, asked the fireman and gave them $12 to go upstairs and get their bags on the 3rd floor. That's how they were caught. Different legends go about John Dillinger. And so he was tried here in Tucson. But across the street is the historic train depot for the Southern Pacific and now Union Pacific Railroad. And it's been restored to World War II. So a lot of soldiers came through here or were on their way to boot camp through this train station.
Davita, I'm fascinated by the history of transit in this area. It really was kind of a crossroads. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Tucson is definitely a crossroads for transportation and transit history. So we had the Tohono O'odham, the Native Americans have used trails through here. This is their historic lands. Then following that, we had the Spanish come up through Mexico, and they founded some of the missions in this area. And there was a presidio here in Tucson. And then after the Gadsden Purchase, when the Spanish left and the Americans came in, there was a contract to get mail from St. Louis to San Francisco. And that was the Butterfield Overland Mail Stagecoach. So the stage came through here. And then continuing mail history, Pony Express came through here because they were trying to get mail between the Midwest or East Coast and San Francisco. And then following Pony Express, the train got here in 1880, actually March 20th. It's my son's birthday, that's why I remember March 20th. And so the train came to Tucson. And lots of things happened after that because they brought here, we had adobe construction because there's not a lot of trees. So a lot of brick was made. With the train, they could bring in materials like lumber and kilns and other things. So the city started growing really fast after the 1880s. And then, oh, sorry. Okay, and then we get into transit, and transit's been in Tucson for over 100 years. And about 50 years ago, 1974, the city of Tucson purchased all of the independent transit systems, private transit systems, brought them together. They had a competition with the community to name this new transit system, and that's how we got SunTran. So SunTran is 50 years old this year, and we're having lots of celebrations for that. So we've heard of Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. They're amazing. These bronze statues are of them, and it's to commemorate when they shot Frank Stillwell at Train to Tucson. So they, right here, Frank Stillwell was part of the Clayton gang. They captured him, and he was shot right here at the Tucson Depot.
All right, so what are we looking at here?
All right, so what you see here is Southern Pacific 1673. She was built in November of 1900 by the Schenectady Locomotive Works in New York. She was a part of a fleet of 104 that were built by them by the order of the Southern Pacific, and they were designed to pull their local freight trains. 104 of them were made, and they were numbered 1615 to 1719. 1673 began her service life in San Francisco, and in general would work in California for 48 years, serving the entire Bay Area, outside of it, and Los Angeles. In 1948, she would transfer to the Tucson division, where she would continue her service life here until around 1954, where she was unfortunately replaced by diesel power and was sent back to Sacramento, where she was supposed to be scrapped. But she was before they can get their hands on her, she was saved by Hollywood Studios so that she can appear in a 1955 film, Oklahoma.
Oh, this is the train from Oklahoma.
Yes, and after her little Hollywood stint, she returned into Tucson to be put in storage until March 20th, 1955, when she came out of the roundhouse so that she can participate in the 75th anniversary of Tucson's first train, where she pulled an excursion train, giving people a free ride to the rail yard, and became the celebration's amusement ride. And in the station, there was approximately 10,000 people that went to participate in celebrations. Some people were lining along the tracks, and many other people were at the rail yard. And when celebrations finally came to an end, 1673 was officially donated to the city of Tucson by the Southern Pacific, retiring 54 years of service and over 1 million miles in travel distance across 4 states and Mexico.
Raymond, thanks for having us in tonight to your famous El Charro restaurant.
Bienvenidos. Welcome to Tucson. Nice to have you.
Thank you. So tell me the story of this amazing place.
Okay, well, Charro is a great story about 2 really industrious, pioneering, strong women. Monica Flynn started El Charro in the early 1920s. Our family immigrated from France to build cathedrals for the Catholic Church. French family, but all their workers were Mexicans and Native Americans. So, to feed her father's workers, she became an expert at the cuisine of Sonora, Mexico. Along the way, catering, feeding them, decided, hey, I'm gonna open a restaurant. The sport of Mexico, and one that was familiar to Europeans, was of the charro, which were the horsemen of Salamanca, Spain, that came to Mexico and eventually became the charros of Mexico. She named it El Charro. She ran that for approximately 50 years. And as she took ill and didn't know what to do, she decided that she was going to move her business somewhere because they had a process here called urban renewal. A little gentrification going on, taking over of people's property, that kind of fun government stuff they do when they're building a city. So they took her property, and she said, well, I still want to try, and tried moving it into her family home, which is where it sits today. The home that her father built in the late 1800s when he came here to build the cathedrals. So that's where it sits downtown today. This is in the late 60s, early 70s. She decides that she's not going to make it. She implores my mother to come from California to take over, because she was the one person in her family that thought, understood the need of the restaurant business. They weren't sure they were going to do it. My mom had my brother and I, we were both infants. And upon walking in the restaurant, and it was a rough time because it was transitioning from its building into an old home, she just fell back in love with it and reopened it, took it over, and ran it for the last 50 plus years. So it really is, my mom's finally passed Monica because we're now at 103, but Monica had it for 50, my mom's had it for 53. Along the way, we've grown other restaurants and other brands, and
You have 18 now?
18 outlets around in different brands and formations, yes.
That's great.
El Charro, there's 3 El Charros in Tucson, plus 1 at the Tucson airport that's kind of a licensed outlet. But we still do things the way a lot of...
I saw it today.
Yeah.
That's,
transportation.
That's right, yeah.
So we still do some things the old-fashioned way. One of the things that we're really famous for is carne seca, which is literally translates to dried beef. You'll have some tonight.
Okay.
We're one of the few places probably anywhere where they actually take the beef and they dry it in the sun. Number one, you got to have hot sun to do that. We have that here. And you got to have a relationship with your health department. We have that here. And you've got to prove that it's a food safe problem. We've done that here. So we do something that very few restaurants do. We dry meat in the sun and basically make a version of beef jerky that they've been doing for thousands of years. Other than that, we also are most famous for the chimichanga.
You invented that, right?
Yes, we invented the chimichanga, right? So think about Monica Flynn. She's a French woman, right? They're used to pan frying things a lot more. And back in the day, one of the things they pan fried all the time, the Native American culture here was what they call like a patty taco, or a taco dorado, or a nanas taco, or a yaqui taco from the native cultures that are here, papago tacos. They were the Indian taco of the era. And what they normally were they would take ground beef and kind of press it into a corn tortilla and fry the shell together to cook all of it at one time. And it would kind of create a very oily but delicious little confection of meat and tortilla that became the beef taco, not the crumbly thing that Taco Bell ruined. This is actually a beef taco of what Sonorans used to, what Nogales and going into Mexico, Sonora, Mexico, the native Yaqui culture, the Indian culture, the Odom cultures, they make this type of taco. Pan fried. Well, at some point, there was a story that Carlota and the family, her other nieces and nephews were in the kitchen, and somewhere in the late 40s, early 50s, whatever it was, Monica was pan frying tacos, and they had asked for burritos instead. One dropped in it, splashed up. She left it in there, pan fried the tortilla, and there's a word, I can't say it on your podcast, that is a cuss word in Spanish, and instead of saying that word, which starts with C-H-I, she yelled chimichanga instead of the other word. And that is the folklore story that we bank on here, and that's the one we tell, and I don't argue with it. I wasn't here, I just get to tell it.
That's great.
Yeah.